A group of miners weaved their way deep inside a mountain on August 5th, 2010 to excavate copper and gold. Never in their wildest dreams would they have known that they were descending to bury themselves for the next several days. Imagine being amongst them, buried alive 700 meters below the Earth's surface in the deep, dark abyss of nothingness. Would you survive? For how many days? We try our very best to provide you with well-researched information, so if you want to support us, please take a second to click and subscribe. This will support and motivate us to bring valuable content to your fingertips. San Jose Copper and Gold Mines, Copiapo, Chile. Chile, also known as the Republic of Chile, is a country situated on the westernmost side of South America. It is closest to Antarctica and is thus located between the Andes Mountains and the Pacific Ocean. San Jose Copper and Gold Mines are located in the Atacama Desert, 45 kilometers north of the regional capital, Copiapo, in northern Chile. The Atacama Desert is the second driest and largest fog desert in the world. It stretches up to a 1,600-kilometer-long strip on the west side of the Andes Mountains. Chile is amongst the world's top producers of copper. Nonetheless, this copper mining business has killed many miners in different mining incidents over the years. When this particular incident happened, the mine was owned by the San Esteban Mining Company, which repeatedly ignored warnings issued by the Chilean Safety Administration, leading to an eventual collapse. This wasn't the first time that it had happened. The mine was first opened for operations in 1889 and had been a site of numerous earlier accidents, including a 2007 explosion that killed 3 miners. Little was done to improve the conditions before the mine was reopened and reauthorized for continued excavation by Chile's National Geology and Mining Service in 2008. The collapse, August 5th, 2010. The disaster began on the fateful day of August 5th, 2010. At around lunchtime, miners working in the mine, busy excavating copper, gold, and other minerals, started feeling vibrations. Suddenly, there was a huge explosion, and everything and everyone was blinded by dusty clouds of gritted sand. The miners were taken by shock. Once the dust settled down, they found themselves trapped 700 meters below the surface. Of the 33 miners, 32 were Chilean and 1 was a Bolivian. According to reports, men discovered the source of the explosion and were aghast to find out that, now quoting from one of the miners, a single block of stone as tall as a 45-story building had broken off from the rest of the mountain and had fallen through the layers of the mine, causing a chain reaction as the mountain above it began collapsing too. Could you imagine being confined to a small, dark space deep down in the earth as a result of a magnanimous boulder, double the weight of the Empire State Building, dislodged from the mountain, and settling with a bang in the mine at an exact place where the excavation work was in progress? This mega block of stone, weighing around 770,000 tons, sealed 33 miners inside the mountain. The crew's supervisor's first thought on examining the boulders was, quote, "It was like the stone they put over Jesus' tomb." A local emergency squad tried to attempt rescue that same night, but to no avail. Matters further worsened when another collapse occurred on August 7th, cutting off access to ventilation shafts that might have served as small exit points, had the ladders been put onto them as per the safety protocols. The next day, the rescue squad's top side began drilling exploratory holes, through which they inserted listening probes to evaluate the status of the trapped miners and any traces of life. These efforts were hampered by the outdated mine maps. Finally, the state-owned mining company Codelco took over rescue efforts from the mine's owners. It began with proper strategic planning and started rescuing attempts by drilling exploratory boreholes. Underground happenings. The miners were in a deplorable situation underground. They were trapped in a hot air chamber with humid air circulation at 35 degrees Celsius. This led some to develop fungal infections and respiratory problems affecting their vision. They followed their supervisor's instructions, which proved crucial in inspiring their collective behavior and survival. The men organized themselves into work shifts, participated in daily prayer sessions, and rationed their supplies. They were left with enough food to last for 2 days. so they rationed their supplies and ate one meal every other day. The meal comprised of 2 spoonfuls of canned tuna, half a glass of milk, and half a cookie. They obtained water from radiators and a spring. They survived this way for the next 17 days. Signs of life. However, on August 22nd, one of the approximately 30 probes detected tapping, and when it was drawn to the surface, a note was attached reading, "All 33 of us are all right in the shelter." The original message read, quote, "Estamos bien en el refugio los 33. Since then, the men have been known as Los 33, or Los 33. A video feed threaded through the small drill hole later confirmed their unharmed status. This was indeed the greatest discovery, and it sent waves of joy amongst the whole nation and the world. Around 1 billion people, as viewers were glued to their screens, watching the story unfold on live TV. From that point onwards, sending the men food, water, medicines, and other supplies through the borehole was possible. By August 23rd, nutrient gel, water, and communication devices had been fed through the holes to the men. Additionally, movies and music were sent down to keep them busy and motivated. A cable allowed the trapped workers to directly communicate with those above the ground, including their families, who settled themselves above ground in a makeshift tent city called Campo Esperanza, or Camp Hope. To ensure their survival and motivation until they could be safely extracted, a range of experts, ranging from mental health experts to NASA scientists, were brought to the site, joining the encampment of worried families, friends, and rescue squads who were spending days in and out to do everything in their capacity to help excavate the men to safety. The Navy experts were called to help address the psychological toll that the isolation can take on the miners. As the days progressed, solid food, alongside medicines and first aid supplies, were passed down to the men. They were also sent exercise routines and lighting devices. Actual rescue, however, was still a far-off cry because of the boulder's size, weight, and thickness blocking the passageway. The Chilean government formulated a rescue plan based on previous successful rescue operations, which were carried out using a so-called capsule, or rescue pod, to pull out the trapped men underground one by one. The rescue methodology was carefully designed to ensure the safety of the miners, as the mine was old and inherently fragile, which meant there were ever-present dangers of further collapse. 3 separate drilling rigs were brought to the site. The plan was to drill 3 large boreholes wide enough for the rescue pod to travel in between and carry out the operation successfully. The 3 boreholes were to be drilled using different equipment and a unique strategy simultaneously to rescue the men, whichever succeeded first, as time was running out. Plan A began on August 30th and used the Australian-built Strata 950 model raise borer. It started drilling the bore shaft and was targeted to reach a depth of 702 meters at 90 degrees. Plan B involved using the T130 XD drilling rig of SRAM Inc., owned by a Chilean-American joint venture drilling company. The strategy was to widen the 5.5-inch boreholes currently used to supply the miners with supplies to 30-inch boreholes. Plan B began on September 5th. For weeks to come, all the higher authorities and officials from the drilling companies and government would be on site, overseeing the progress and ensuring that everything was going according to plan. Plan C involved a Canadian-made drilling rig, Rig 421, operated by a Calgary-based company. It was the last drill to be added to the rescue process and went into operation on September 19th. This one faced setbacks due to its capacity to dig large holes, but the target area needed to be bigger, and it wandered away from its intended course. Underground team efforts. Meanwhile, underground, the trapped miners split into 3 teams working an 8-hour shift to remove the debris caused by drilling and to reinforce the walls of the mine. They formed a routine which revolved around working, playing, and resting at 8-hour intervals. They were also involved in checking up on their mates. They also kept up a simple exercise routine, such as running up and down the tunnel to train their muscles and keep up their health. Drilling results. Plan B SRAM T130XD was the first to reach the miners by October 8th. The strata had reached 85% of its required depth by then, while Rig 421 reached just 62% of the targeted depth due to its inherent limitations. The rescue operation was a combined international effort involving technology, cooperation, and all sorts of resources of companies and individuals from around the globe, including Latin America, South Africa, Australia, the United States, and Canada. They all came together to help make this rescue operation successful. NASA experts helped to formulate a sophisticated health agenda. Though the international community's help was critical to the success, the Chilean team's efforts and dedication ultimately led to success. As one NASA specialist said during a visit early on in the rescue, quote, "The Chileans are basically writing the book." The building of the rescue pod. The 3 drilling rigs were progressing successfully, and the technicians were simultaneously building the rescue capsules to carry the miners to the surface. The steel rescue capsules, named Phoenix and dubbed Phoenix, F-E-N-I-X, were construed from a design put forward by NASA. The Chilean shipbuilding company Astilleros y Maestranzas de la Armada, also known as ASMAR, was involved in the manufacturing of these pods. After incorporating NASA's designs and suggestions, they built 3 pods, naming them Phoenix 1, 2, and 3. It was eventually Phoenix 2 used in the rescue due to its slim structure, having a diameter of only 21 inches. Its narrow structure glided safely through the tunnel, avoiding hitting any sides. Moreover, it had retractable wheels that helped provide a smoother surface ride. It was equipped with an oxygen supply, lighting, video and voice communications, and a reinforced roof to protect against rock falls. It also had an escape hatch with a safety device to allow the passenger to lower himself back down if the capsule became stuck anywhere during the rescue process. The extraction plan. The drilling finished on October 9th. Yet, the mining minister announced that the rescue operation would begin on October 12th due to the complex preparatory work required both on the escape shaft and the site of extraction. After ensuring the system was checked and in place, it was reported that it would take about an hour to pull each miner up to the surface. Therefore, it was expected that the lifting phase would take almost 48 hours to bring everyone up to safety. The rescue operation. The rescue operation began on Tuesday, October 12th at 1900 CLT. Manuel Gonzalez, an experienced rescue expert and Codelco employee, was lowered into the mine. This was the make-or-break moment for all the efforts made over the past 69 days. Gonzalez successfully arrived at the collapsed mine and met the miners. There was an uproar of delight on the surface as the families, crews, officials, and everyone present could pull a big sigh of relief. It was as if the impossible had been achieved. Although the Chilean officials did their best to minimize the risks associated with the rescue operation, the miners still had to be educated and alert in case any problem arose during the ascent. It was then decided to haul the first 4 men who were deemed fittest of body and mind. They would be the best choice to inform about the journey's conditions and keep the other miners updated. Health and Safety Protocol. As a health and safety protocol, each miner was switched to a rich liquid diet comprising sugar, minerals, and potassium. Each was administered a dose of aspirin to prevent blood clotting and given girdles to stabilize their blood pressure. They were also provided with moisture-resistant overalls and sunglasses to prevent sudden exposure to glaring sun rays. First, the 4 miners were successfully extracted, and then the rescue operation proceeded in order of health, with the least healthy brought out of the mine first. On October 13th, all 33 miners were safely carried to the surface of the Earth through this newly drilled tunnel escape. Into this tunnel, a capsule was perpetually lowered and raised back, carrying the miners individually. By the end of the day, all 33 miners had seen the sky for the first time in 69 days. Once on the surface, each miner was checked for alertness, and then taken to the field hospital for initial evaluation. Later, they were shifted to Copiapo Hospital via helicopter for 24 to 48 hours of observation. Achieving target and world's reaction. Call it a feat of engineering or a leap of faith, But all the buried miners were resurrected with no harm whatsoever. None of those underground or even above the surface ever gave in to despair, though through that first 17 days no one knew their status, whether they were alive or dead. The Chilean government shouldered the $20 million cost of the rescue operation. Hundreds of journalists around the world documented the spectacle, which was watched by millions of viewers worldwide. Chilean President Sebastián Piñera and First Lady Cecilia Morel were present during the rescue. Several foreign leaders contacted Piñera to express solidarity and pass on congratulations to Chile while rescue efforts were underway. They included the presidents of Argentina, Brazil, Colombia, Peru, South Africa, Uruguay, Venezuela, and Poland, and the prime ministers of the UK, Spain, and Ireland. Other foreign leaders, including the Mexican president and the president of the United States, praised the rescue efforts and expressed their hopes and prayers for the miners and their families. Attention following the rescue. In the wake of their rescue, the miners were celebrated at home and worldwide as celebrities. They were guaranteed 6 months of health care and flown to international destinations for media appearances. They enjoyed worldwide fame, expensive motorcycle gifts, and invitations to famous destinations for sightseeing tours, including Disney World and the Greek islands. Some appeared as motivational speakers. Also, based on their experience, the miners planned to start a foundation to help in the field of mine safety. All 33 miners recognized one thing in common. Their story was their most valuable possession and takeaway from the experience. They collectively agreed to share accurate information and any proceeds from publishing their experience. Acclamation works. They mutually chose and contracted novelist and Pulitzer Prize winner Hector Tobar, a writer at the Los Angeles Times, to write an official history, so that none of the 33 could individually profit from the experiences of others. Tobar had exclusive access to the miners, and he published an official account titled Deep Down Dark, the untold stories of 33 men buried in a Chilean mine and the miracle that set them free in October of 2014. Other notable books include Trapped, How the World Rescued 33 Miners from 2,000 Feet Below the Chilean Desert, published in August of 2011 by Mark Aronson. Buried Alive, How 33 Miners Survived 69 Days Deep Under the Chilean Desert, published in 2012 by Elaine Scott. And then 33 Men, Inside the Miraculous Survival and Dramatic Rescue of the Chilean Miners, published in October 2011 by Jonathan Franklin. A film titled The 33, based on the events of the disaster, is directed by Patricia Riggin and written by Miko Allen and Jose Rivera. The producer worked with the miners, their families, and those involved to assemble the film. The film's plot mainly focuses on the disaster and its aftermath, during which rescue teams attempt to save the trapped miners over 3 months. Documentary. The first TV documentary based on this actual incident was aired by Nova on the U.S. Public Broadcasting System on October 26, 2010. Aftermath. However, with time, as the initial media attention and the flood of offers died down, the traumatic experience started to take its toll upon the miners and their families. It became apparent that many faced difficulties coping with life on a day-to-day basis. The after effects of trauma led the miners to suffer psychologically and even financially. Some found that they couldn't get new mining jobs, or that they simply couldn't go down into the mines due to post-traumatic stress disorder. Some families expressed their fear that the experience had irrevocably changed the miners. Some of them began abusing alcohol and drugs. According to an interview with Patricia Riggin in 2015, the miners have never been compensated monetarily for their ordeal, and many of them suffer financially, mentally, and psychologically. We hope you liked the video. Let us know your thoughts about the disaster in the comments down below. If you want to see more such videos, make sure to subscribe to our channel and also hit that bell icon so that you never miss a new update. Thank you for watching.